Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. So today we're tackling something that I think we all grapple with. Presence.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But not just like showing up. Really owning your space and projecting like the best, most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah.
And to help us unpack this, we're going to be looking at Amy Cuddy's book, Presence.
Oh, awesome.
You might know her from that viral TED Talk on power posing.
Yeah, for sure.
This book goes way beyond just striking a pose.
Yeah.
It gets into like the science and psychology behind presence and how it can really transform your life.
It's so interesting how she really digs into the why behind presence.
Yeah, totally.
It's not about tricks or quick fixes.
Right.
It's about understanding the deeper mechanics at play so you can make lasting changes.
Absolutely.
Like really get to the root of it.
Yeah. And so let's say you're listening to this because you want to learn how to quiet that inner critic, feel more self-assured, and just generally level up in your life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to unpack together.
Love it.
Using the insights from presence.
Awesome.
So first things first.
Okay.
How does Cuddy actually define presence?
So she defines it as the state of being attuned to and able to comfortably express our true thoughts, feelings, values, and potential.
Okay, so it's not just about like knowing what you think and feel,
Right.
but actually being able to express it
Yeah.
in a way that feels genuine.
Exactly. It's about aligning your inner world with your outer expression. Like think of it as that sweet spot where your thoughts, words, and actions are all in sync.
Okay.
And it comes across as authentic rather than forced.
So in the book, she actually shares this anecdote about completely bombing an elevator pitch.
Oh, yeah.
She found herself like trapped with these big shot academics and just froze up.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
I think we can all relate to that feeling of like anxiety taking over.
Yeah.
And just not being able to articulate your thoughts clearly, right?
Whoa.
Totally. I know, I've definitely had those moments.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Have you ever experienced something similar?
Oh, so many times.
Like a time when you felt you weren't able to project your best self. How did that make you feel?
It's the worst. It's like, you have something to say, but you just can't get it out.
You can't access it.
Right. And those kinds of experiences can be so frustrating.
Yeah.
And they really highlight why presence is so crucial.
Totally.
When we lack presence, we miss out on opportunities to connect, to share our ideas, to make a real impact.
Yeah, and it makes me think about the science behind all of this.
Okay, yeah.
Cuddy talks about this concept of synchrony,
Right.
which is essentially about aligning our internal state with our external expression.
Yeah.
So it's like when your words are focused, your body language and actual feelings are all on the same page.
Right. And what's fascinating is that the synchrony is fueled by a sense of personal power, not power over others, but power that comes from within.
So it's more about like that feeling of self-assurance and belief in your own ability.
Precisely. It's that inner strength that allows you to be comfortable in your own skin, to speak your mind and to take risks without being crippled by self-doubt.
Yeah.
And Cuddy argues that this inner power is the key ingredient that unlocks presence, making us more authentic and connected in our interactions.
I love that.
Yeah.
So there's actually a study mentioned in the book about entrepreneurs pitching their ideas to investors. And it found that the ones who projected warmth and confidence were significantly more likely to secure funding.
Wow.
It really highlights how presence can have a tangible impact on our success.
Totally.
Not just in terms of feeling good, but in achieving real-world results.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we're present, we come across as more persuasive, more influential, and just generally more capable of making things happen.
Okay, but how do we actually cultivate that inner power? Especially when so many of us struggle with things like imposter syndrome.
Oh, for sure.
Cuddy herself talks about wrestling with this feeling of being a fraud.
Yeah.
Despite all her accomplishments.
Yeah.
And she even mentions Neil Gaiman, the famous author, who has openly talked about battling those same imposter feelings.
It's so common, even among incredibly successful people.
I know, it's crazy.
That nagging fear of being exposed, of not being as smart or capable as others perceive you to be, it can be incredibly debilitating.
Absolutely. Imposter syndrome can hold us back from taking risks, pursuing our goals, and really owning our accomplishments.
For sure.
But Cuddy doesn't just leave us hanging with these feelings of self-doubt.
Right.
She dives into the link between feeling powerless and those imposter fears. And she makes a really important distinction between different types of power.
Yes. It's so important to understand the difference between social power, which is about having control or authority over others, and personal power, which is that internal sense of self-efficacy and agency. And Cuddy argues that it's the lack of personal power that really fuels those feelings of imposter syndrome.
That makes sense. So it's not just about a lack of status or position, but about feeling like you lack control over your own life choices and circumstances.
Exactly. When we feel powerless, we tend to become more anxious, more self-absorbed. And our cognitive function actually takes a hit.
Wow.
It's like our brains go into survival mode, focus on self-preservation rather than engaging with the world around us.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And this can create a vicious cycle where we avoid challenges, doubt our abilities, and ultimately reinforce those feelings of powerlessness.
Cuddy uses this really interesting example in the book of a baseball player whose performance actually suffered.
What?
Because his batting average was constantly displayed on the Jumbotron.
Oh.
The pressure of being judged so publicly amplified his feelings of powerlessness. And it actually led to a decline in his game.
It's such a vivid illustration of how external pressures can feed that sense of powerlessness, even for someone who's at the top of their game. And it really highlights the importance of cultivating that inner strength, that personal power to navigate challenging situations without crumbling under pressure.
Absolutely. So how do we actually start cultivating that inner power?
That's the big question.
This is where Cuddy brings in the mind-body connection, right? She talks about this idea of bodily feedback, the notion that our physical actions can actually influence our emotions and thoughts.
It's a fascinating area of research, and it really challenges the traditional view that our minds control our bodies.
Totally.
Cuddy highlights the study where participants were instructed to hold either high-power or low-power poses. The ones who held expansive, open postures, think Wonder Woman's stance, actually reported feeling more powerful and confident. While those who adopted closed, constricted postures experienced a decrease in those feelings.
So crazy.
I know, it's wild, right?
It's almost like our body language is sending signals to our brains, shaping our internal state.
Exactly. And it's not just subjective feelings. The physiological changes are measurable.
Wow.
Studies have shown that expansive postures can boost testosterone, which is associated with confidence and assertiveness, and lower cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So by simply changing our posture, we can actually create a cascade of hormonal changes that lead to increased confidence and reduced stress.
So there's actually scientific backing to that old adage, fake it till you make it.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
The act of behaving as if we are powerful can actually trigger genuine feelings of power and presence.
Interesting.
And this is where Cuddy introduces the concept of power posing, deliberately adopting expansive postures to shift our internal state and project greater confidence.
It's not just about striking a pose for a few minutes before a big meeting, though.
Right.
Cuddy talks about incorporating those postures into our daily lives. Subtly shifting our body language to send messages of power and confidence to our brains. Like standing tall with our shoulders back instead of slouching, or taking up space in a meeting instead of shrinking into our chair.
Right.
Even small adjustments can make a difference, right?
Absolutely. Those subtle shifts in posture can have a cumulative effect over time.
I love that. There's this great anecdote in the book about an executive who used power posing to navigate a challenging meeting with Hugo Chavez.
Wow.
It really shows how these techniques can be applied in real-world high-stakes situations.
What I find so empowering about this approach is that it's accessible to anyone.
Right.
You don't need special training or equipment to change your body language.
Yeah.
It's about making conscious choices about how you hold yourself, and in doing so, influencing your internal state.
Cuddy also emphasizes the importance of self-nudging.
Oh, yeah.
Making small, incremental changes to your behavior.
Right.
That can lead to significant long-term results.
It's so powerful.
Like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yeah.
Or setting a reminder to check your posture every hour.
It's about creating an environment that supports positive change.
Totally.
By making small, manageable adjustments to your routine, you can gradually shift your habits and create lasting transformation.
You know, there's this really interesting study that Cuddy mentions. About a successful energy conservation campaign. Households received feedback on their energy consumption compared to their neighbors.
Interesting.
And this simple nudge actually led to a reduction in energy use.
Wow.
It shows the power of social comparison in influencing behavior.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how we can apply those same principles to other areas of our lives.
That's such a great point. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights how understanding human behavior can help us create positive change. Not just on an individual level, but also on a societal level.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Cuddy's approach is all about empowering us to take control of our internal state, using our bodies to influence our minds, and ultimately become more present and confident individuals.
It's so powerful.
But one question that comes up for me is, how do we apply these concepts in a way that feels authentic and sustainable?
Right.
We don't want to feel like we're putting on a performance all the time.
That's where the idea of faking it till you become it comes into play.
Okay.
And it's important to clarify that this isn't about being phony or pretending to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
It's about consciously choosing to act as if you already possess the qualities you desire.
Okay.
Even if you don't fully believe it yet.
So even if you don't feel confident, you act confident, and eventually your feelings start to catch up.
Exactly. Cuddy shares the story about a young woman who used power posing to confront her abusive ex-boyfriend.
Oh.
By adopting a powerful stance, she was able to tap into a reservoir of inner strength she didn't even know she had.
That's amazing.
And it's not just anecdotal evidence.
Okay.
Research suggests that even when we don't initially believe it, acting as if we are confident and capable can have a real impact on our thoughts and behavior.
It's a powerful reminder that we have more agency than we often realize.
Absolutely.
By making conscious choices about how we present ourselves to the world, we can influence not only how others perceive us, but also how we perceive ourselves.
It's like we're creating a feedback loop that reinforces those desired qualities. It's like we're priming ourselves for a different outcome.
Totally.
Instead of succumbing to those feelings of doubt and insecurity, we're consciously shifting our internal state to one of greater confidence and presence.
But is there a risk of coming across as inauthentic or even arrogant?
That's a valid concern. And it's important to strike a balance between projecting confidence and staying true to yourself.
Right.
It's not about putting on a persona, but rather tapping into your authentic best self.
Okay.
Remember, Cuddy distinguishes between social power, which is about dominance and control over others, and personal power, which comes from within and is about accessing our own inner resources.
That's a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
So personal power is not about trying to control others, but rather about mastering ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about feeling secure in our own abilities, values, and beliefs, and allowing that inner strength to shine through in our presence, making us more compelling and persuasive without resorting to manipulation or force.
Right. It's about influence, not coercion.
Yes, I love that.
And it all starts with believing in ourselves and our ability to make a difference.
Cuddy talks about how presence is the medium through which trust develops.
That's good.
She shares this really inspiring story about Reverend Jeffrey Brown, who worked to reduce gang violence in Boston.
Wow.
And his approach was all about building relationships and fostering trust.
What I find fascinating about Brown's approach is that he focused on connecting with the young men in the gangs on a human level.
Yeah.
He didn't come in preaching or trying to assert his authority. Instead, he listened, asked questions, and showed up consistently demonstrating his genuine care and concern.
He shifted from seeing those young men as the problem to seeing them as partners in the effort to create a safer community.
And that shift in perspective, that willingness to connect and listen, is what ultimately allowed him to build trust and make a real impact.
It's a powerful example of how presence can bridge divides and create meaningful change.
For sure.
But how does all of this relate back to body language?
Well, Cuddy argues that our body language can either enhance or undermine our presence.
Okay.
She highlights research showing that when we feel powerless, we tend to constrict our bodies, making ourselves smaller.
Think about slouching or crossing your arms, avoiding eye contact.
Exactly.
All those classic signs of insecurity.
And those postures not only reflect our internal state, but they can also reinforce those feelings of powerlessness.
Right.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
On the other hand, when we adopt expansive open postures, we send signals to our brains that we are confident and in control.
And those physiological changes can have a ripple effect, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behavior, right?
Absolutely. Cuddy emphasizes the importance of paying attention to our body language, particularly in situations where we feel challenged or intimidated.
Yeah.
It's about becoming more aware of our default patterns.
Right.
And consciously choosing to adopt postures that support our presence.
But what about cultural differences?
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Body language can vary across cultures.
Right.
And what might be perceived as powerful in one culture could be seen as aggressive or inappropriate in another.
That's a really important point, and Cuddy acknowledges those cultural nuances.
Okay.
It's about being sensitive to those variations and adapting your body language accordingly.
Yeah.
The goal is not to impose a one-size-fits-all approach,
Right.
but rather to find ways to express your presence in a way that feels authentic and respectful within your cultural context.
She gives an example of how expansiveness is expressed differently in East Asian cultures.
Right.
Where it's often conveyed through vertical space rather than horizontal space.
It's fascinating how those subtle variations can have a big impact on how our body language is interpreted.
It highlights the importance of being mindful and doing your research to make sure you're communicating effectively within different cultural contexts.
Absolutely.
So getting back to the practical side of things, how do we actually put all of this into practice?
Yeah.
How do we incorporate these concepts of presence, power, and body language into our daily lives?
Well, Cuddy offers some practical advice on how to power pose effectively. She suggests finding private spaces where you can practice these expansive postures without feeling self-conscious.
Like in the bathroom before a big presentation?
Yeah, exactly.
Or in your car before a job interview, right? Those little moments where you can take a few minutes to shift your internal state before entering a challenging situation.
Exactly. And the key is to find what works for you. Experiment with different postures and notice how they make you feel.
Cuddy also emphasizes the importance of incorporating these postures into your everyday routines.
Oh, for sure.
Things like standing tall with your shoulders back while you walk down the street.
Yeah.
Or taking up space in a meeting instead of shrinking into your chair.
These small adjustments can have a cumulative effect over time, gradually shifting your default patterns and making you more comfortable with projecting presence.
It sounds like cultivating presence isn't just about mastering a set of techniques, but about a deeper shift in our mindset. It's about that willingness to embrace our authentic selves and show up fully in the world.
And to recognize that we have the power to choose how we respond to challenges and to use our bodies and our environment to support our growth and development.
Cuddy shares this truly inspiring story about a young woman who used power posing to confront her abusive ex-boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
By adopting a powerful stance, she was able to tap into a reservoir of inner strength she didn't even know she had.
It's such a powerful example of how these techniques can be used to empower ourselves in even the most difficult situations.
It highlights the transformative potential of changing our body language, not just to influence how others perceive us, but also to shift our own internal experience.
Exactly.
And she also talks about the idea of faking it till you become it, arguing that even if we don't initially believe it, acting as if we are confident and capable can actually lead to genuine changes in our thoughts and behavior.
It's about creating a new reality for ourselves. One where we embody the qualities we aspire to. And as we continue to act in alignment with this new vision, it becomes more and more ingrained in our sense of self.
So it's like we're training our brains to believe in our own potential. Even if it feels shaky at first.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed and nurturing it until it grows into a strong and resilient plant.
And Cuddy emphasizes that this isn't about becoming someone we're not. Or putting on a false front. It's about tapping into the best version of ourselves, the person we know we can be.
And by making conscious choices about how we present ourselves to the world, we can invite others to see us in this new light. And ultimately to believe in our potential as much as we do.
This idea of stepping into our own power and allowing it to shine through in everything we do is really resonating with me.
Me too.
It's about owning our strengths and being comfortable in our own skin.
And when we're truly present, we're more likely to connect with others, build trust, and create positive change. It's a virtuous cycle that benefits not only ourselves, but also the people around us.
It seems like presence is not just about looking or acting a certain way. But about cultivating an internal state of being that radiates outwards. It's about embracing our authentic selves and letting that inner confidence shine through.
And when we do that, we create a ripple effect, inspiring others to do the same.
Oh, I love that.
It's a beautiful thing to witness.
I love that image of a ripple effect. So Cuddy's book is full of these inspiring stories
Oh, yeah.
about people who have used these techniques to overcome challenges and achieve their goals.
One that stands out to me is the story of a homeless man.
Oh, wow.
Who found solace and strength and power posing.
Wow.
Using it to navigate the difficulties of his situation.
It's a reminder that these tools are accessible to anyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of our circumstances.
Totally.
We all have the power to choose how we respond to challenges and to use our bodies and our environment to support our growth and development.
And that's what's so empowering about Cuddy's work.
Yeah.
She's giving us practical tools to tap into our own inner strength and create the lives we want.
It's about recognizing our own agency and taking responsibility for creating the lives we want.
And as we do so, we become a force for positive change.
Yeah.
Not only in our own lives, but in the world around us.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring the foundations of presence and how it's linked to those feelings of inner power.
Yeah.
And we've touched on some of the techniques that Cuddy suggests for cultivating greater presence in our lives.
Right.
But I think it would be helpful to take a deeper dive into some of these techniques.
I agree.
And really unpack how we can apply them in a practical and sustainable way.
I completely agree. Let's explore those techniques in more detail and see how we can integrate them into our daily lives to unlock that powerful presence we all have within us.
Love it.
Sounds good.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay. So, picking up where we left off, let's dig into some specific techniques for cultivating presence. One of the things that Cuddy emphasizes in presence is this fascinating connection between our minds and bodies. And it's not just about using our bodies to influence our minds, it goes both ways.
Okay, so you're saying our thoughts and feelings can actually manifest in our physical state.
Right.
Just like our physical state can impact how we feel.
Exactly. And Cuddy talks about how feeling powerless can actually lead to physical constriction, making us literally smaller. Think about those times when you're feeling anxious or insecure. You might hunch over, cross your arms, avoid eye contact.
It's like we're trying to disappear to make ourselves as small and invisible as possible.
Precisely. And here's the thing. This physical constriction can actually make those feelings of powerlessness even worse, creating a vicious cycle. It's almost as if our bodies are mirroring and reinforcing our negative thoughts.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
But then how do we break out of that cycle? What can we do to shift those feelings of powerlessness and start projecting more presence?
Well, on the flip side, when we're feeling confident and powerful, we naturally tend to expand our bodies, taking up more space. Think about the classic power pose. Standing tall with your hands on your hips, chest lifted, chin raised.
It's that Wonder Woman stance we were talking about earlier. I can already feel my confidence rising just thinking about it.
Exactly. It's a posture that conveys confidence, strength, and authority. And what's amazing is that even if we don't initially feel those things, simply adopting this posture can start to shift our internal state.
So you're saying that even if we don't feel confident, acting confident can actually help us to become more confident.
There's a growing body of research that suggests this is exactly the case. Cuddy highlights studies that show power posing can actually lead to measurable changes in our hormone levels. It increases testosterone, which is associated with confidence and assertiveness, and decreases cortisol, which is a stress hormone.
That's incredible. So by simply changing our posture, we can create a cascade of hormonal changes that make us feel more confident, less stressed.
It's like we're hacking our own biology. And the implications are huge. If we can learn to consciously control our body language, we can actually influence our internal state, our behavior, and ultimately our outcomes.
Okay, so we've got the power posing down. What are some other techniques that Cuddy recommends?
She also talks a lot about the importance of breathing. When we're feeling stressed or anxious, our breath tends to become shallow and rapid. And this can actually exacerbate our anxiety, triggering that fight or flight response in our bodies.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling stressed, I definitely notice that I hold my breath or take short, shallow breaths.
Exactly. And that pattern of breathing keeps our bodies in a state of high alert, making it harder to think clearly and act effectively. But when we take slow, deep breaths, we activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us calm down and relax.
It's like flipping a switch from fight or flight to rest and digest.
Exactly. So simply by changing our breathing patterns, we can have a profound impact on our internal state. Cuddy suggests practicing deep breathing exercises regularly, especially before entering challenging situations. And she also recommends incorporating mindfulness techniques into our daily lives.
Can you give us some examples of what that might look like?
Sure. It could be as simple as paying attention to the sensations of your breath as you inhale and exhale, or noticing the sensations in your body as you go about your day. It's about becoming more aware of your internal experience without judgment.
So it's not about trying to change our thoughts or feelings, but just noticing them without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. These mindfulness practices can help us become more aware of our internal state and more skilled at regulating our emotions.
All of this really highlights the power of that mind-body connection. But sometimes, even with all the power posing and deep breathing in the world, we still struggle with those feelings of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. What does Cuddy suggest for overcoming those deeper psychological barriers to presence?
Well, one of the most powerful tools she offers is the concept of self-nudging. It's about making small, intentional changes to your environment and behavior that support your goals and aspirations. It's based on the idea that we are often creatures of habit, and our surroundings can have a powerful influence on our choices and actions.
So we can actually set ourselves up for success by tweaking our environment in subtle ways.
Exactly. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, you could keep healthy snacks within easy reach and put those tempting unhealthy snacks out of sight. Or if you're trying to exercise more, you could put your workout clothes out the night before so you're less likely to skip your workout in the morning.
I love that. It's about removing those obstacles and making it easier to make those positive choices.
Right. And Cuddy also suggests using visual reminders to keep your goals top of mind. You could create a vision board with images and quotes that inspire you, or just write your goals down and post them somewhere. You'll see them every day.
It's like creating a constant nudge in the right direction, a gentle reminder of what you're striving for.
Exactly. The key is to make those nudges subtle and positive, not forceful or punishing. It's about creating a supportive environment that encourages you to make choices that align with your goals and values.
This reminds me of that study about the energy conservation campaign we were talking about earlier. Just by providing people with feedback on their energy consumption compared to their neighbors, they were able to nudge them towards more sustainable behavior. It makes me wonder if we can apply those same principles to other areas of our lives.
Absolutely. And Cuddy gives another example in the book about researchers who were trying to encourage people to save more for retirement. They found that simply showing people age-progressed images of themselves significantly increased their willingness to save. It's like getting a glimpse of our future selves helped us to connect with the importance of planning for the long term.
It's fascinating how those subtle interventions can have such a big impact on our behavior.
It really speaks to the power of our subconscious minds and how we can leverage those insights to create positive change.
Okay, so we've talked about power, posing, deep breathing, and self-nudging. Are there any other techniques that Cuddy recommends for cultivating presence?
She also talks a lot about the importance of rituals and routines. Whether it's a morning meditation practice, a nightly gratitude journal, or even just a weekly date night with your partner, these rituals can help you stay focused and aligned with your values.
It's like they create a sense of structure and predictability in our lives, making it easier to make positive choices and stick with our goals.
Exactly. And as we repeat these rituals over time, they become ingrained in our habits and ultimately become part of our identity.
So rituals are not just about going through the motions, but about creating a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in our lives.
Precisely. And those rituals don't have to be elaborate or time-consuming. It could be as simple as taking 5 minutes each morning to sit in silence and connect with your breath. The key is to find something that resonates with you and that you can commit to doing consistently.
It sounds like this concept of self-nudging is really about taking ownership of our choices and recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destiny. We're not just passive bystanders. We're active participants in creating the lives we want.
That's such a powerful insight, and it's something that Cuddy emphasizes throughout the book. Presence is not about waiting for something to happen to us. It's about actively shaping our internal state and our external environment to create the conditions for success.
So it's not about becoming someone we're not, but about tapping into the best version of ourselves and the person we know we can be. And then using these techniques to create a life that reflects that vision.
Exactly. It's about becoming the architects of our own lives, consciously creating an environment and a set of practices that support our growth and well-being. And as we do that, we not only create a more fulfilling life for ourselves, but we also inspire others to do the same. It's a beautiful ripple effect that can transform the world, one small nudge at a time.
I love that image. It's so hopeful and empowering. So we've explored a bunch of these techniques for like cultivating presence, right?
Right.
From power posing to deep breathing to self-nudging, even affirmations. But how do we actually put all of this stuff into practice?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
To think about applying all of these techniques all at once.
Right, like where do we even begin?
Well, Cuddy actually gives us some really helpful advice for navigating specific situations.
Okay.
Like, for example,
yeah,
let's say you're about to give a big presentation.
Okay.
And you're feeling those nerves, creep in.
Oh my gosh, I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
Like heart racing, palms sweaty.
Yep.
Mind goes blank.
Totally.
It's the worst.
Happens to the best of us, but instead of letting those nerves take over, Cuddy suggests finding a quiet space beforehand.
Okay.
Where you can do a few minutes of power posing.
Like in the bathroom or even just standing tall in a hallway or something.
Exactly. Take those few minutes to expand your posture.
Okay.
Take some deep breaths and remind yourself of your strengths.
Yeah. And your capabilities.
Right.
It might feel silly at first.
Okay.
But trust me, it really works.
It's like you're giving your body and mind a little pep talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Before stepping out onto that stage.
And speaking of pep talks,
yeah,
Cuddy also highlights the power of self-compassion.
Oh, that's so important.
When those negative thoughts start swirling,
right.
Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend.
Yeah.
Instead of berating yourself for feeling nervous,
right.
Acknowledge those feelings and then gently redirect your attention to your strengths and your preparation.
It's so easy to get caught up in that spiral of self-criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we're facing a challenge.
Totally.
But yeah, reminding ourselves that it's okay to feel nervous and that everyone experiences those feelings can be so helpful.
Absolutely. And another strategy that Cuddy recommends for high-pressure situations is to focus on connecting with your audience. Instead of getting caught up in your own head, try to shift your attention outward. Make eye contact with people in the room.
Yeah.
Smile.
Okay.
Really listen to what they're saying.
It's like you're creating a sense of warmth and connection.
Yeah.
Rather than focusing on your own performance.
Yes, exactly. And that connection can help to ease those nerves and create a more positive and engaging experience.
Yeah, totally. For everyone.
For everyone involved.
So, okay, we've talked about presentations.
Okay.
What about those like everyday interactions that can sometimes feel awkward or intimidating?
Right.
Like meeting new people at a networking event or something.
Well, remember what we were saying earlier about the power of body language?
Yeah.
When we feel powerless, we tend to make ourselves smaller. But when we feel confident, we naturally take up more space.
So even in those like casual social situations, we can use our body language to project presence and confidence.
Absolutely. Stand tall, make eye contact, smile, and engage in like open, welcoming gestures.
Okay.
And most importantly, be yourself.
Oh, that's huge.
People are drawn to authenticity.
Right.
So don't try to be someone you're not.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot between projecting confidence and being genuine.
And one of the most powerful things you can do in any social situation is to simply listen.
Oh, that's so true.
Cuddy talks about how listening is one of the most effective ways to build rapport and create connection.
Yeah. It's like when someone really listens to you.
Right.
It makes you feel seen and heard.
Exactly. And it all goes back to that idea of presence.
Yeah.
When we're truly present, we're fully engaged in the moment, we're listening attentively, and we're connecting with the people around us on a deeper level.
And those are the kinds of interactions that create lasting impressions and build meaningful relationships.
Cuddy's book is full of inspiring stories about people who have used these techniques to transform their lives. One that particularly resonated with me is the story of a young woman who used power posing to help her overcome her fear of confronting her abusive ex-boyfriend.
Wow. That's a powerful example of how these techniques can be used to empower ourselves in even the most challenging situations.
This woman had been trapped in a toxic and controlling relationship.
Oh, gosh.
And she felt powerless to break free.
Yeah.
But after learning about power posing, she started practicing it regularly to build her confidence and courage.
And it worked.
It did. When she finally confronted her ex-boyfriend, she stood tall, took up space, and spoke her truth with clarity and conviction.
That must have taken so much courage.
It did. And the amazing thing is that her ex-boyfriend, who had always been able to intimidate her in the past, was completely taken aback by her newfound strength.
It's like her power pose shifted the entire dynamic of the interaction.
It did. And she was finally able to break free from the relationship and reclaim her power. It's a powerful reminder that we all have that inner strength within us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need the right tools to access it.
Cuddy's work really highlights this beautiful interconnectedness between our minds, our bodies, and our social interactions.
Right.
It's about understanding how these different elements work together.
Yeah.
And then using that knowledge to create a more positive and fulfilling life.
It's a holistic approach to personal growth and transformation.
Right.
It's not just about changing one aspect of ourselves. It's about integrating all of these different pieces to become more whole and more present.
So this has been such an insightful exploration of Cuddy's work on presence.
Yeah, it really has.
What stands out to you as like the most powerful takeaway?
For me, it's the reminder that presence is not some innate quality that some people have and others don't.
Yeah.
It's a skill that can be cultivated through practice and intention.
I love that.
We all have the power within us to become more present, more confident, and more influential in our interactions.
Totally.
It's just a matter of choosing to tap into that power and using the tools that Cuddy provides to make it happen.
It's so empowering to know that we have that choice.
I know.
That we're not stuck with our default patterns, but can actively shape our internal state and our interactions with the world.
And the beauty of it is that we don't have to make drastic changes overnight.
Yeah.
We can start by incorporating small, manageable practices into our daily routines.
Totally.
Like those power poses, deep breaths, and self-nudges.
It's about taking those small steps consistently.
Yeah.
And trusting that those small changes will lead to big results over time.
And remember, presence is not about perfection.
Right.
It's about progress. It's about showing up authentically, embracing our imperfections, and striving to be the best versions of ourselves.
It's about recognizing that we all have something unique and valuable to offer the world.
And when we show up with presence and confidence, we give ourselves permission to shine and inspire others to do the same.
Well said.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, what small change will you make today to tap into the power of presence in your own life?
I love that.
It could be as simple as adjusting your posture.
Yeah.
Taking a few deep breaths. Or practicing a power pose before a challenging interaction.
Remember, every small step you take brings you closer to that confident, present, and influential version of yourself that's waiting to emerge.
And as you cultivate greater presence in your own life, you inspire others to do the same.
Totally.
Creating a ripple effect of positive change that can transform the world.
Go out there and be present.
Yes.
The world is waiting for you.
See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.